Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out the range with a pre-production sample of a brand new firearm that I found to be exciting, and if you love the MP5, you may find it to be exciting as well. Now, the firearm that I have out today is called the ZF9, and it's not a secret. They have pictures of it on their website. It's been present at certain range days, but this is it. This is a roller delayed 9mm, and it's in the same line of firearms that we've talked about previously here on the channel, the Chamber 5.56 300 Blackout, sub 6.2 by 39, 9mm, and I learned from their website they're planning on making a 10mm version of this. Now, if you want to get my attention, make something in 10mm. Meanwhile, they sent me this 9mm to play with, give them some feedback on, because again, this is a pre-production sample. They're still coming soon on their website. But this is interesting to me because it is a roller delayed system, and it is obviously heavily based on a very popular firearm, which this is the SP5 or MP5 semi-automatic. This is based on that in terms of its operation, but is a totally new firearm. And if there are any parts compatibility, it will be simply in the rollers and maybe the bolt head. Everything else from the lower receiver, upper receiver, all that stuff is completely different than an MP5. So in my opinion, it's pretty much a new firearm. And so we're going to take a closer look at this. Also on top of this, I have a One Power Micro Prism GLX from Primary Arms. And what's really cool about this is it has push button electronics on it for reticle brightness, has an ACSS reticle in it. And this little guy, what it does is it has better glass than the SLX versions of this optic, the One Power optic. So it's a little bit cleaner, and the other ones are really clean as it is. But also what's neat about it is I can put this all the way out here on the end of my rail, and it doesn't have a set eye relief like so many optics. Think of an ACOG. You got to get right about 3 inches away from that optical or the ocular side to get a full bright view through the optic. This doesn't care if it's 10 feet in front of you or half an inch in front of you, pretty much gives you the same sight picture. So that's really kind of cool. So we have that mounted up on here. We do have a suppressor on it, an OSS suppressor, 9mm. And we're going to have some fun with it. I should also mention very quickly, this one is, as I already said, a pre-production sample. This one is the version that uses the Glock mags, but they also have a version of this gun on their website they've listed that will take CZ Scorpion mags, something I personally would prefer because of the aesthetics. It has that curvature to it, where this has a Glock straight mag in it. Just aesthetically, I don't think this is as good looking, but it does offer last round bolt hold open and widely available magazines available from a number of different manufacturers, and they're very cost effective. And if you already have a Glock, this would certainly make a lot of sense. So let's get started with today's video, doing some shooting with the ZF9. Again, this is not a production sample. When they get into full production, I may do another video on these guns if something significant changes, but I just want to bring you guys along today to do some testing with this thing, have some fun with it, and give you a sneak peek at a brand new product that I hopefully, or you hopefully find to be interesting, because I certainly do. I love the idea of bringing roller delays back again. So let's get started with today's video. A lot of folks ask me, how can I get involved in the firearms business in that particular community? And one of the best ways to do that is to become a gunsmith. Every gunsmith I know is just overbooked with work. It's a very good living. And so if you would like to become a gunsmith, you need to go to a gunsmithing school or become an apprentice for an existing gunsmith. But Modern Gun School is an accredited college that also works with veterans in the GI Bill, where you can go and get a degree from accredited college in gunsmithing and then go out and start your own gunsmithing business, which I think is a really great option. Again, throughout my entire life, gunsmiths have always been able to earn a really good living, assuming they have a really strong work ethic. So please check out Modern Gun School. I do have a link in the video description below. The MP5, I think most of you watching this video would agree, is an iconic weapon for a reason. It is an amazing design. It uses a roller delay. It's a very soft shooting submachine gun. Even decades later, most new modern 9mm submachine guns wind up being compared to the MP5 in terms of its ergonomics, its shootability, recoil, impulse, and things like that. Now, this uses old school technology, if you will, that came out of World War II, which means it uses extensive use of stampings for the receiver, but that doesn't really lower the quality at all because it is made by H&K and they can make stampings look high quality. And so they're very well made. People absolutely love them with good reason. They're very solid firearms. Now, this one has an AS Designs super safety in it, because I know you guys are going to ask us, well, does a super safety work in the ZF9? And as of this recording, a standard MP5 super safety isn't going to work in it. It's going to require its own trip lever. The ZF9, unlike the MP5, is manufactured from aluminum, so it is a machined upper and lower, but it does make use of an AR-15 style fire control group. So in theory, you could drop a Super Safety, AS Designs, or Hoffman Tactical or something like that into the lower. Then you just need a trip lever that would work with the bolt in this. This is not an MP5 bolt carrier. The bolt is very much MP5-ish. We'll see when we take it apart, but the carrier is quite different. So you would need a different trip lever or something like that. If there's enough of them being sold, hopefully they address the Super Safety thing. So what I want to talk about here is, first of all, the magazine. Why didn't they use the MP5 magazine? Well, they're not as affordable as most Glock magazines or Scorpion Evo type magazines. They are out there and they are of high quality, but they lack one critical feature that most people want in a modern firearm that was recently designed, and that's a last round bolt hold open. The MP5 doesn't have that with its magazine. It has no way to lift a bolt stop. So that's why you use CC Scorpion magazines or Glock magazines. Now, I will not be using Glock 33 round magazines in this video. I won't even show one because Google doesn't like 30 round magazines or more. They will actually demonetize, maybe even delete this video if I show you more than 29 rounds in a magazine. So we've resorted to doing 20 round magazines for 5.56 rifles, use Snag mags, and today we're just using a 17 round YouTube, 17 round Glock magazine for today's video. If you don't like those policies, feel free to email YouTube and let them know what you think. All right, so with that being said, it's very similar to the MP5. When we get into the disassembly, we'll talk more about the roller delay system, but I wanted to point out the differences between sheet metal construction, machined construction, and address the Super Safety issue because I know that's top of mind for a lot of you folks watching this. I certainly enjoy the Super Safeties, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. Now, let's do a little bit of shooting with the ZF9, and let's take it apart and take a look at it on the inside to see what makes this bad boy tick. So let's go over some of the features of the ZF9, keeping in mind that this is a pre-production sample, so some of the things we talk about today may change. I don't know what those things might be, but that's always a possibility when you're talking about a firearm that has been sent out for T&E and for me to test and offer feedback on. If I find something I don't like, they may change it. So we'll see. That's happened in the past. This is sold as a pistol, and you can get it with a 6 or 9 inch barrel. Back here, you have a 1913 rail that pins in with 2 pins. You do not have to remove this end cap for basic maintenance. This is just so you can change the rear cap. You have the 1913 rail. I do have a 5.56 rifle here, a 300 blackout pistol that uses a M4 adapter tube. It's just a piece that plugs in. It's held in place with those 2 pins. So you can change out the rear end and how you want to mount braces or stocks, depending on if you have a rifle or a pistol. On top, we have a QD mount. And I would prefer that there than under here, which is where some people put them because then it gets in the way of your grip. Speaking of the grip, as we come down here, this is a standard AR-15 style grip. Has a standard AR-15 type trigger group in it. It is a machined aluminum lower. We even have a standard AR-15 type trigger guard right here. So you're going to have some, plenty of options for braces and stocks, and also plenty of options for pistol grips and triggers if you want to swap triggers out down the road. Over here on the left-hand side, upper receiver, as I've already mentioned, is also machined out of aluminum. And we have a large ping pong paddle. This is your bolt stop bolt release. So you can push on the bottom, pull the charging handle to the rear, lock it open, push on the top, and release it. We have a magazine release right here on the left-hand side. Selector lever. Opposite side, magazine release, bolt stop bolt release. So I can push up on this and charge it and lock it to the rear just like that as well. Port cover, and then an ambi selector lever for the fire controls. Has push pins because it's based on the AR-15, if you will. It's a very AR-15-ish style lower. It's not an AR-15 lower, but you have those two AR-15 style push pins, which are captive. Coming up here, these plugs cover up little QD holes. So you can put a QD mount in there for a sling. They're present on both sides. If you don't want to use that, you can just put the little rubber stopper in there, and that'll plug that hole, which is a nice little touch. You'll also notice that the charging handle, which can be used on either side of the firearm, also has a steel reinforcement that's replaceable on both sides. This is an aluminum handguard. So you have a Picatinny rail that runs across the receiver here. There's a gap. The handguard runs up to that, and then you have that extend on out. The charging handle is non-reciprocating, so there's a spring that keeps it in the forward position. Does not fold like some HK-style firearms. It's more like the MP5, which is just usually a polymer knob on a metal bar that plugs into the firearm. This is very similar with regards to that. The handguard itself, we do have these M-lock slots all the way around, which will give you plenty of accessory mounting. Out here on the end of the barrel, we have a 1/2x28 thread and also a tri-lug, so you have different ways to mount a suppressor to the firearm. As I mentioned, this one takes Glock mags. Another version of it will take CZ Scorpion mags. My preference would be for the CZ Scorpion mags, strictly for aesthetics. Both magazines should give you perfect reliability. I've had problems with neither of them over the years. Let's see if I missed out on anything else on here. I don't think so. So basically taking it apart, you don't have to worry about pins falling out like with an HK where you pull the pin out and stick it in the stock. As I've already mentioned, these pins just hold the butt cap in, not necessary for field stripping. Just use your AR-15 style pins back here. You just pop this rear one out. It'll cam open just like an AR-15, which we'll show you more about when we get into the field strip portion of today's video. So let's take the ZF9 apart. First, we want to make sure the weapon is empty. There's no magazine inserted. Just going to go ahead and draw the bolt to the rear, check that chamber, make sure there's nothing inside. And then we want to leave the bolt and carrier in the forward position so that we can field strip it. Now, while it's not a true AR-15 lower, it's not compatible with the standard AR-15, it still has AR-15 style pins, as I'd mentioned. So I'm just going to pop out this rear pin. I can also pop out the front pin if I want to completely separate the upper and lower, but I'm not going to do that right now. So when you hinge this thing open, when you look inside, you're going to see it has the AR-15 style trigger group in it, but it does have the HK style ejector over here. And so the bolt carrier, when it moves rearward, will push up on this, which then the face of this will hit the rear of the case and kick it out the ejection port during cycling. Now this is attached to the receiver via this little doohickey here on the side. That's its pivot point. So I believe it uses standard AR-15 trigger groups, and this is attached to the receiver and is not being held in place by an AR-15 trigger pin or anything. But I've not taken it all apart because this is a pre-production sample. Something may change, and if it does, then we'll take it apart in a future video. So I just wanted to show you what that looked like. Now, on the upper receiver, you'll have two recoil rods. They're captive recoil springs. This little top hat looking piece, that goes into the bolt carrier. And then back here is where it interfaces with the rear receiver, and then it cycles. To pull the bolt out, I'm just going to pull on the charging handle, get my finger in front of the bolt face there, and I can easily draw that out. Now I can set this aside. Taking this apart is very much like an MP5, so all I'm going to do is just hold the bolt carrier group, rotate that bolt head slightly until it releases. I can pull the bolt head off, continue turning that locking piece until it hits its disassembly notch, and then you can take your firing pin out. So all that is very simple to do. Now, how does that stack up to an MP5 bolt and carrier group? Well, as you can see, the carriers are quite different, all right? And the super safety that I was talking about earlier requires this area for it to work. And that is absent from here. So that goes to my point earlier of it not working with standard MP5 style super safeties. But you'll notice the bolt carrier is slightly smaller and lighter, has serrations on it there, which you can use as a forward assist to help get that into battery if it's dirty. If you take a look at the bolt, again, we're just going to rotate this bolt head slightly. I don't know why it's giving me a fit here. There we go. Rotate it slightly, it'll come off. Thing's really dirty. And you'll notice the locking piece comes out and then the firing pin. So let's take a look at this stuff. So here's the MP5 bolt head. Here's the ZF9 bolt head. So you can see some slight differences in them. Some pins are in different places. The cut's different to the bolt. But I think the extractors are the same. They look like they have the same cut, and the extractor springs look to be the same. I'm guessing the rollers would be similar, but I'm totally speculating on that point. You'll notice the firing pins are similar. And the locking pieces are, once again, look to be about the same. So what parts are definitely compatible with each other? I couldn't tell you, but I suspect a number of these bolt parts would be swappable, but the carriers are completely different. To put it back together, all I'm going to do is take my bolt head and locking piece. I'm going to drop my firing pin into my locking piece. And you can see the oblong cut right there. And then this raised area on the back of the locking piece, that's where it goes in. I'm going to push it in, rotate it to about that position, grab my bolt head, put it on there, rotate it until it pops, and it's back together. Very simple to do. I'll put that together later. All right, now I do it so I can see it, and I'll explain why. There are openings all over back here, and if the bolt and carrier all the way forward and you can't really see in there, it's easy to get this into the wrong hole, but it will not assemble completely by doing that. So I just kind of do it while it's back here so I know everything's lined up. I don't have to look down inside the receiver. I can just push that home. And those will be flush. If they're sticking out slightly, they're probably in the wrong hole or not fully seated. But once they're fully flush, then you can just drop that down, quick function check, and the weapon's back together. So field maintenance is very easy on it. I would say it's even a bit easier than the H&K because of that AR-15 clamming action that allows you to quickly gain access to the internals of the firearm. So the firearm may look a bit chunky, whatnot, but it weighs about 4 pounds. It does feel pretty light. If you go with the shorter barrel option, it'll be even a little bit more lightweight. Both options are pistols. I don't know if they plan on selling an SBR. Speaking of selling, they don't have the price on the website, and trying to get a hold of somebody at the company today while we were filming, because I realized I didn't have the price, all I see is speculation on the internet. I don't see a solid price, and they've not gotten back to me. If they do before I go into editing, I'll stick the price in a lower third down below so we know how much this is planned to cost. But again, this is not currently available. It's coming to market, coming soon on their website. What do I think of it? Well, first of all, I love when companies do something a little bit different. I've said many times before that by 1930, I'm just making up a date, but let's say before we even went into World War II, 1930, we had pretty much done everything we were going to do with smokeless powder, brass cases, lead bullets, and copper jackets. Every system of operation had been invented, gas operation, blowback operation, various delay systems, all that had been done. So what we see today is usually a repackaging of older technology. I use Glock as an example. They weren't the first striker fired handgun. They weren't the first polymer framed handgun. They weren't the first double stacked 9mm handgun. HK was doing all that before Glock. The difference is Glock took all these older existing technologies, repackaged them into a very popular handgun, and it became one of, if not the most popular handguns in the world. So when people say, well, gosh, that looks like this had sex with that and gave us X, well, yeah, that's pretty much every firearm designed after 1930 at this point. So I don't really put a whole lot of stock in those types of comments. I like the fact that it's roller delayed. We see plenty of gas guns, long stroke gas pistons, short stroke gas pistons, DI, Browning type actions, just all these different types of actions out there. But roller delay has kind of taken a back seat. And so with Zenith like reinvigorating and bringing new life into it with their modular roller delay system, it's really exciting to me because it gives us options. And I want to see new technology. I want to see repackaging of old technology into something new because that's just kind of what we do. And I think this is a great looking firearm. Now, the prices on these I've seen speculated from $1,500 up to $2,000. I don't know. Again, once I find out, I'll put that in the lower third. But the balance and everything of this firearm feels really, really solid. I like the fact that, it uses standard AR-15 type accessories. It probably has some compatibilities in the bolts if you need rollers and things like that. But Zenith has been around for a number of years, and they also sell all the accessories and parts that you might need to, keep something like this up and running. The only thing that I find a little bit maybe troublesome are the openings that you'll see here. So if we were to do our moon dust test on this, you'll see that unlike the MP5, which when its bolt and carrier is closed, it seals up that port for the most part. Now, stuff will get on top of that, and when it cycles, it'll fall into the action. It's not perfect, but there's an awful lot of openings there, and even behind the carrier that's visible through the ejection port. So if you do carry this into an adverse environment, closing that port cover is not a bad idea that will help keep debris out of the action. So I think it has great ergonomics. I think I like the fact that it uses AR-15 type triggers because I like AR-15 type triggers. I love the clamshell action where it hinges open for accessing the internals during field stripping. I find that to be much easier than something like the MP5. So overall, I like it. I do like the forward charging here. I like the fact that it locks open. I think the Glock mags, and especially the CZ Scorpion mags, are smart choices for magazines, affordable and widely available. And so I think it's going to give some folks some options. Ambi controls. I mean, it pretty much checks all the boxes, all the things that the MP5 doesn't have, but it does take the MP5's famous roller delay system and drops it into a brand new system. So yes, I do like it. It's ran flawlessly for us so far, and we'll keep shooting this. And I look forward to the day that this actually becomes available so you guys can pick one up and let me know what you think of the ZF9. We'll do an update video most likely. It might wind up being a short depending on how much this thing changes by the time it does go into production, because I do want to follow the progress of these firearms, again, because it's interesting to me and hopefully interesting to you guys. If you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms channel so that we can continue to bring you content like this, consider becoming part of our Patreon family. There's a link in the video description below. Right here on YouTube, you got the subscribe button underneath the video player you're watching right now. Mash that button and you can help support us right here on YouTube in the age of demonetization. I want to thank you guys for 17 years of support. Swing by, check out Copper Custom, and we'll talk to you guys soon.